Run them jewels fast, run them jewels fast, run them, fuck the slow mo. Hey.
Okay, hello and welcome. This is Run the Julz podcast production. Hoopenheim, we're back. And Andrew and I.
I really hope the microphone picked up that burp that I just let out right as we let on.
I didn't hear it.
There's not a bodily noise, a cough, a sneeze, a burp. I think I've done everything.
I didn't hear it, so I think I think you need to like fart or something to run the whole cycle.
Next
one. So we've been on we've been away for a little bit. The summer is pretty active. Nobody let's be real, nobody's really waiting. Nobody's really waiting with bated breath, for our scorching hot content. But we had a white hot last week and a half in the association, so we're here to talk about it. We can first kind of start. We're going to backtrack a little bit to the draft. Just kind of hit that real quick. We're not going to hang our hat on the draft too long because it's over and done with. The storylines have played out and not much more we could say. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about free agency, what's gone on. We're going to talk about the circus that is the Clippers and DeAndre Jordan from last night. We'll talk about the Celtics because we can't help but do that and talk about what they're up to. And it's going to be a lot. So the draft. No surprises for the most part in the beginning. It went as you would sort of expect. Karl Anthony Towns to Minnesota, D'Angelo Russell to LA, Okafor to the 76ers, Porzingis to the Knicks, and on down the line. Was there anything in the first those first four names that kind of surprised you, or you kind of I know my answer, but it seemed kind of par for the course?
I'm not surprised. I mean, I could have seen Philly going another direction and maybe trading that pick back. I just think once they lost Russell, I don't know how Okafor fits. I guess Embiid maybe never play in the NBA again. I don't know. Maybe he's literally never going to play again. I don't know. Suppose he's really fat now. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
He got super fat.
A lot of things. Yeah. Which is a shame because he's like an unrealistic trade target for us. So
I mean, maybe that's part of it, but I don't know. I would have thought maybe they throw it back to like, I don't know, someone. I don't know who was the 6 or 7. I can't think of who it was, but maybe if they wanted to jump and get 3, if the Knicks wanted to jump and get Okafor, whatever. I don't know. Not really surprised though. I mean, you take top 3, you probably take one of the 3 best available.
Are you surprised by that?
You got. I was gonna say Hinkie hates the draft, so he always says like it's a crapshoot anyways. So I guess you just take the best player available and hope he pans out.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised. The only thing that, I guess I was a little surprised that the Knicks didn't move back because I thought they were in love with Frank Kaminsky and wanted to just move back for him, but they ended up taking Kristaps Porzingis, which all of New York just collectively hated in one fell swoop.
You love to see that.
Oh yeah, especially when it's happening in New York, the draft. And then I was also kind of surprised that the Lakers took D'Angelo Russell because I was fully expecting them to be the Lakers and just take the best center available and just kind of keep going, beating that drum that they've always beaten. With you need the franchise center and the big men for the Lakers, and you build around them. So I'm kind of impressed in some way that they've joined the rest of the association and decided maybe we should take the best pure talent available in D'Angelo Russell. So I was surprised by that as well. But 1 through 4, not too surprising. The rest, we're not going to get into break down each pick, but do you have a favorite in the first round, a favorite player?
If we're just like up and down, or you want to say like value, I mean, hard not to like I don't like Okafor a whole lot. I don't know. He looks like hard to describe because I'm sure he's gonna watch us and get really offended by what I say. But sometimes I watched him at Duke and didn't really look like he gave a shit, and it's not always a good thing to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just his demeanor. I guess if you saw Tim Duncan every day and you were like didn't really know a lot about him, you'd probably say he doesn't. I mean, sometimes he just plays, just goes out there and plays. Doesn't play with a ton of emotion, positively or negatively. So I guess maybe the case could be made that like, oh, maybe he doesn't. Maybe Okafor's the same way. I don't know. I saw him just kind of lollygag or it seemed like he was loafing sometimes. I don't know. So I don't love Okafor. D'Angelo Russell, I've heard a couple interviews with him. I think he seems like a cool cat.
Yeah.
Pretty solid customer. Going to be a good basketball player, hopefully. I'm not on – we'll get to this. I'm going to just say Justice Winslow, and I'm not going to say anything else. We'll get there. So I'm just going to throw his name out there. Not my favorite, but we'll get there. Other than that, I mean, I think we talked about the Wisconsin guys. I don't totally believe in Kaminsky. I think Becker can be a decent player. So, I mean, overall, I'd love to see Porzingis just be amazing and just have all the Knicks fans just have to eat their socks over it. So, I think overall, I mean, Towns is an easy pick because he's gonna get to play with Garnett, and it's just gonna be fun to see what he does. If he turns into like little Kevin Garnett 2.0, it'll be fun to see him do that. But I'd say Russell overall is gonna be my favorite player to watch next year.
Okay. I have a glaring favorite out of everybody in the first round. We'll get to what the Celtics did, but I am just over the moon excited about Mario Hezonja, and I was really impressed with the Magic that they had the intestinal fortitude to take him at 5. Because we thought that maybe it was going to be, they were going to take Emmanuel Mudiay or Willie Cauley-Stein, and Hezonja would be down towards, the Nuggets or the Pistons or the Kings. But I think that kid is a star, and I don't know how he was crafted out of, a mine shaft in Croatia and delivered to us like this on a silver platter. But he's everything I read before about him, he's just kind of like a psycho and wicked intense about winning, and gets in arguments with teammates because they're not passing him the ball enough and everything. It just screams like irrational confidence guy, and I love those guys. And he seems like he has the athleticism. He plays above the rim, and the shooting prowess for the most part to start backing it up and be a real offensive weapon for a team in the Magic that has good defensive pieces in place, such as Aaron Gordon and Victor Oladipo. But I'm really stoked to watch Elfrid Payton throw lobs and passes and whatnot to Hezonja and have Hezonja finish around the rim, which is already happening in Summer League, by the way. He's tearing it up. And he's already, like, I guess some of the Magic assistant staff have to, like, hold him back because he's arguing calls in Summer League with refs and whatnot. So he's a certified psycho, and I love that. And I think I heard, I don't know if it was through Grantland or something. Usually it always is. But somebody is trying to get the block Mamba off the ground for him, like the Eastern Bloc, as in Croatia and all that sort of area. So if we can get the block Mamba as a real solid thing for his persona, I'm going to be buying a Hezonja Magic jersey and just not knowing what to do with it. But I'm stoked about him. I'm kind of happy that we were spared the Willie Cauley-Stein experiment, because I think a lot of people around Boston were interested in him, and a little worried that his maturity level isn't up to par enough for this team and everything like that, and what we're trying to build here. When you change your middle name to Trill, we got a problem. So I'm pretty stoked that we kind of dodged that ball, even though I probably would have taken him still, but I'm glad just not to have him. And then anybody else who just really impressed me who got taken, I think Denver has a great value pick in Emmanuel Mudiay. I don't think they could have asked for anything better. I like that pick. For them, they kind of need to start building an identity, so I think he's a good pick in that regard. He was touted to be the number 1 pick before he went to China. So, I think that's a good pick too. But I would say those are a few of my takeaways from value or guys I was thinking that were good picks for teams. But we can talk about the way the bottom half of the lottery played out. Not great for us. Fantastic for a recent rival in the south of Florida. But what were you? Okay, I think you told me that you weren't watching the draft live at the time. I think you said you were going to LA.
I did go to LA that night. I was like, "What the fuck was I doing?" Yeah, I did.
Who did you see? Who did you see?
Bill Burr.
Oh, that's pretty worth it. Yeah, that's totally fine. So you probably weren't agonizing through the excruciating, like me waiting by Twitter and by the TV set, waiting for Woj to say that we've traded up towards 9 or 10 or whatever to go after the player that was falling, which was Justice Winslow. It was a nightmare. I was really upset at the time that we didn't make our way into that area, but what are you going to do? I mean, nobody wanted to trade with us, and we can get into this a little bit, but I'm a little worried that nobody wants to be kind of duped by Danny anymore, because he has a reputation of kind of not fleecing other teams, but like getting the better of them. So I'm a little worried that nobody wants to help us until they're really, really desperate. And I'm not sure if that was the case with Charlotte, who we were linked with for a long time of trading with to get their number 9 spot, or they were just that enthralled with Frank Kaminsky. But on no planet do you pass on 4 number 1s for Frank Kaminsky. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if he's, I don't know, you think he's going to be Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, there's still a chance he's not going to be Dirk Nowitzki, so you go with the 4 number 1 first, not number 1s, but first rounders. What was your take on that whole debacle?
Well, I'm doing like a really quick search right now, and what I'm finding is, and I'm going to trust Wikipedia hard here, but it looks like this last year's draft was the first time, at least since 2009, as far back as I've gone, where there hasn't been, where all the top 10 draft, like the top 10 teams have kept their pick. There's no trades. No one traded in or out of the top 10 this year, and that's the first time since 2009. So it's weird. You would think Danny puts together that package. Someone bites typically to get into the top 10, and someone puts together way too big of a package to get into the top 10. So it's weird that he couldn't get there. I don't know what Michael Jordan really, like, what is so important about Frank Kaminsky that Michael Jordan had to have him over 4 first-round picks. Like, I don't. The only conceivable theory, I think I heard this on Dan Patrick's show. I don't remember who was on with him. The only conceivable theory is that Michael Jordan was convinced that the Celtics were going to draft up or trade up to take Frank Kaminsky, and that he wouldn't do it. But even still, Frank fucking Kaminsky.
No.
4 first-round picks and whatever else it was.
Yeah. Could have been Sullinger.
It was 6 picks total, wasn't it? Was it 4 first and 2 seconds or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
For Frank Kaminsky, even if you think like they're going to take Frank Kaminsky, you say, okay, have him.
Yeah,
like,
we'll live with that.
Like, what is the debate there?
I don't know. Oh, the thing I heard was potentially that Michael Jordan is fixated on the fact that they lost Josh McRoberts, and he thinks Frank Kaminsky could be a Josh McRoberts type. But even still. Yeah, like Josh McRoberts, like you don't pass on 4 first-rounder guys for Josh McRoberts, even like polished and in his like at his best. So what a mess. Like
who even in the league would you trade 4 first-round picks for? Like, that's an elite group of people.
Yeah, that's like a top 12.
There's probably not a person on every team where you would say I would trade 4 first-round picks for him.
Right.
There's probably not. If you went through the NBA roster of every team, there's probably not someone on every team that you would say I would trade 4 first-round picks for.
Yeah. we certainly don't have anybody.
Just, like, I don't know what that,
Yeah.
like, I don't, and also I don't totally understand the huge Justice Winslow hype that kind of came from
Fair.
all the pre-draft workouts and stuff. I mean, he's a good player. I saw him in college. He kind of won that national championship game for him. It just seemed like he kind of came in and won that game for them. But like, I guess a lot of that hype came from pre-draft. So I don't get too into that. I kind of wait for the whole thing to play out and let him play some games before I really get into it, just because how different the two games are, college to NBA. It's just transition, just different games front and back. So I don't really get into the pre-draft stuff, but I guess all that hype came from that. So I don't totally understand if he's worth it, if he's that great. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll suck if this guy turns into a perennial all-star, and you probably could have had him. I don't know what else he would have done to get him, but if that's who you're targeting, it would kind of suck because, I was a target, and you end up with someone who I think can be a pretty big bust, is what I'm hearing. Or not, I guess it can't be a bust at 15, but someone that probably may not ever pan out to be something special. But I don't know. I don't. Pat Riley, I guess, is just being Pat Riley and just had his guy and didn't want to give him up on it. That's whatever. It's kind of crumbling at his feet anyways, so I guess Pat Riley's got to do whatever he got to do to rebuild. But the Jordan thing just doesn't make a single bit of sense to me.
Yeah. I think the Winslow thing, he would have fit probably pretty well in our system, which made him so attractive to everybody around here. A good athletic wing who is terrific on D. His ceiling is Kawhi Leonard, which has everybody foaming at the mouth. He goes from a potential not so great situation in Charlotte or Denver into like the perfect fit in Miami. So good for that kid. He's not gonna be rushed along necessarily. He's gonna be able to play with Bosch and Wade and Dragic and just kind of develop at his own pace. So that's good for him, good for that club, but I don't like, good things for the Miami club. But when we could have had him. But, such is life. People don't want to play nice with us lately. And nobody's going to want to help us rebuild, which is, I don't blame them, but Charlotte, come on. Like, that's a lot of picks. But who knows? So, okay, we can move forward to our pick at 16, which was Terry Rozier, which I was very lukewarm on at best when we drafted him because he fits the mold of everybody we already have on the squad. A guy who's short combo guard, 6'2" and under, pretty good ball handler, seems to be aggressive and a pest on D. We have at least 2-3 of those guys.
So these 3 sentences I have here in his official profile by Mark D'Amico on Celtics.com. Great athlete, great length. Proved at the combine he can move with anyone. We have 7 of those. Not the most talented offensive player, but makes an impact with slashing. We have those. Is a scorer above all else who uses great quicks to pace himself from defenders. We have those. Problem is that he's inefficient with the ball, doesn't showcase explosiveness around the basket, and his shot is very inconsistent. We have a roster full of that.
Yeah. Yeah. My only thing,
the best quote I saw about this, I don't remember who said it, but it was recently. It was that the Celtics were not in a position to draft best player available. They were in a position they needed to draft for need at that point, and it seems like they just went best player available at 16. Maybe because Danny missed out on Winslow, and he was maybe thinking, if I get the best player available, maybe someone will bite for another trade. We'll do a little draft day trade after we pick Rozier. Something like that. That's the only thing I think, and then he just got stuck with it. I don't get that pick. I think Sam Dekker would have been a better pick.
Fair. I thought they could have moved back and picked that kid if they were so in love with him. I was kind of upset that they didn't do that, but I think Danny might have been like so annoyed and so just kind of thinking that the trade process with other teams was helpless and just kind of not going to work. He was just like, fuck it, I'll just pick the kid I want right now, and just ended up doing so. I think he really did like that kid. We brought him in for 2 workouts. He struck up a pretty good bond, so both of them say, when they met in the preliminary meetings before the draft. Something that did kind of get my attention was, I think it was an individual poster on Reddit who was kind of advocating for the pick, saying that it was a pretty glaring issue for our team against Cleveland, was that in the playoffs, was that we don't have a lot of guys who can create offense or handle the ball or run the offense when they aren't Marcus Smart or Evan Turner. And that kind of runs out after those two guys. And we kind of need more people to hang our hat on. So in that sense, I can understand the pick. I can also understand it if he was looking for another Marcus Smart type that might have to replace Marcus Smart in a trade package if he was going to end up going that route. So he might have been taking him as an insurance policy as well. But, we tried to move Marcus Smart, and people were like, we're not that impressed with him just yet. So we're not going to give you anything for him. Or who knows if we actually tried to move him. There was that outrageous Philadelphia third pick in the draft situation, but I don't know how legit that really was, or if Sam Hinkie even picked up the phone for that call. But I don't know. He seems like a good kid, a high character guy. I think I tweeted something about like some profile about how he's like a crazy, crazy good kid, which is nice. But one of these days, some of these high character guys have to pan out in the court. So who knows? We'll see. But we can fast forward.
Same hometown as Drake, by the way.
Say that again?
I think he went to the same high school as Drake. Just throwing it out there.
He's a Toronto kid?
No, from Cleveland. Is that wrong? No, not Drake. Kid Cudi. Sorry, Kid Cudi. My fault. That's on me. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
I was about to say Drake has been posing for Toronto for all this time, and I didn't know.
Sorry, that's on me, guys.
Okay, he's Cleveland. Okay. Yeah. I think I heard that. Okay. I heard he's from Ohio, not that he's from the same place as Kid Cudi, but okay. I like Kid Cudi.
I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah. So let me give you. That was like a deflated hot take one. I'm not sure what happened there, but
it might have been right. I might just been making that up, but don't even worry about it.
I'll take it. We're gonna run with it. So the only other two, we're gonna machine gun through it. R.J. Hunter, Jordan Mickey. I like both of them. I liked both of those picks when we selected him. R.J. Hunter had a better bounce back game. He's been not great in the summer league, but that doesn't matter at all. Had a better game tonight against the Spurs, scoring 18. I think he knocked down 3 or 4 triples, which is good. Need to see shooters get into rhythm, so that's important. And then Mickey's been pretty good. He's been throwing up like 15 points per game, and I know he had one game with at least 3 blocks. So if that kid can be like our quasi Draymond Green, which he's not going to be able to be that because there's only like 3 people on the planet who can be Draymond Green. But if he can be serviceable in that kind of a role, then sure, he's 6'8". We can do some running and small ball with that kid, and I'm into that. So he led the whole NCAA in block shots, so we need that desperately. So take all that. So yeah, how'd you feel about those two guys?
Don't know a ton. I mean, Hunter can shoot. That's what I've heard. Obviously, my only real exposure to him is the NCAA tournament, and I was kind of hoping maybe we'd get his dad and his dad's little leg cart too. But I guess we don't also get his father with his leg cart around the court. We don't. That doesn't come with the draft. Well,
unfortunately, I think we try to negotiate for it, but they're asking too much. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've gleaned from him, he's a shooter. It's something he's probably going to have to, obviously transition is learning how to shoot the NBA three, but that's sort of what his going to be his calling, which if he can play into that and he can make that happen, then that's exactly what we needed. Probably would have liked that at our earlier pick with someone who's proven that can probably shoot and maybe doesn't have to build into it as much. But if he can learn how to shoot the NBA three consistently and he can be kind of what he was in college, kind of what he was in college Celtics. It's a good little pick at the end of the draft there.
Yeah.
The other guy, I honestly don't know a bunch about him, and he's probably much smarter, but he reminds me a little bit of like a Fab Melo, where everyone's like, oh, this guy can just be this crazy defensive playmaker. Look at how many shots he blocks, and look how high he jumps. And it's like, well, I mean, Fab Melo's a fucking idiot. Let's not. I don't even know. I would be afraid to make fun of him, but I don't know if he even knows how to type out YouTube.com. I don't even know if he knows what those letters put together mean.
I don't think he'll be commenting, no.
Yeah, I think we'll be okay making fun of Fab Melo, but that's like the vibe I got from his hype. It's like, oh, this guy could be like, if he gets turned around, look at how athletic and how amazing he could be. Is that completely unfair? Probably, because I know nothing about this kid, but that's just like the hype vibe I got from it.
I will say that I understand the block shot stuff. Yeah, Fab Melo. I have interesting anecdotes about Fab Melo because I think I saw him more times out at the bar in Hyannis, Cape Cod, than I did see him on the court, which I saw him at least twice down Cape at the bar in Hyannis on the Main Street Strip, which is ridiculous. And every time he was there, like turning up with water in this like tiny dive hole in the wall, horrible place. So yeah, he's a sensitive subject for me. But Mickey, hopefully, I saw some interviews, he seemed like he can string together a sentence, which is already a massive improvement over
already up one on that.
The aforementioned. So who knows? We'll see what happens when we get to the season. I'm okay with those first 3 picks at the moment. Still think we could have moved back.
Sorry. This guy led the NCAA in blocks being 6'8".
Yeah.
Oh, all right. That's a little different.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not like he's a hulking 7-footer who can't put his feet 1 foot in front of the other. He's actually pretty athletic and run up and down, finish a little bit at the rim. So hopefully we can distance your thought process away from Fab Melo because that's what it is.
It won't take much, if we're being honest. It really won't take much.
Yeah.
If you could just come out in his press conference and read like "Goodnight Moon," I'd be like, oh, well, he's already better than Fab Melo. So we're taking too many cheap shots. I'm sorry, Fab. I'm sorry, buddy. Just too many cheap shots.
No, it's fine. We burned pick 21 on him. We picked Sully and then him when we could have. I don't even want to go back and look at that draft because I think Jimmy Butler. It was like right after that. So at least I think that was the Jimmy Butler year. So that would give me a stomachache. But all right, we'll get off the draft. But let's see. What else did we have on this? So we can move forward into the free agency frenzy that's been happening over the past few days. Everybody's getting paid.
Dollars.
They're getting paid. Like they're getting, the new TV money is coming in, and all teams are basically adjusting their offers for said new cap space and cap ceiling with that new number from the TV profits coming in. Dudes are getting a lot of money, which is okay, good and bad. Some contracts are better than others. Alfaro Camino. But there are a few out there that are smart, and there's several. But there's been a lot of activity. First of all, let's just talk about maybe Amir Johnson real quick. How did you feel about the Amir Johnson pickup? Him at two years, but it's 1 and 1. It's one and then team option for the second for $12 million. And we'll give you my opinion just yet. I want to hear exactly what you have to say, but
I think my full opinion would be he's fine. Like, he's good. I guess he's kind of this video's gonna play. I guess he's kind of he's like one of those, like, he feels a need. He feels a need for the team. Does he feel like a immediate need that we don't have to do anything else? No. will get coupled with a pot with is David Lee official? I don't know. I know it hasn't been technically announced. I don't know if it wasn't. It's not allowed to be announced yet.
Yeah, it's as good as done, but we know that nothing is safe, as we learned last
Seriously.
night.
So Amir Johnson next to David Lee makes a little more sense for me.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know what minutes we're gonna expect. I'm trying to find his per 36 stats because I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
his current stats are 9 and 6 for the Raptors, which isn't bad. But I don't know how many minutes he was playing. I'm just curious what his 36 minutes are. But I guess next to a guy I've seen play a little bit. I mean, gets 9 and 6. I mean, that seems to be about right for him. If he's the first big guy off the bench and can get you 10 points and 5 rebounds, that's pretty solid. It's not a tremendous amount of money when you consider everything else that's going on. I mean, that's fine. Again, Phil Void is we're not gonna lose that. We're not gonna go into the black hole of our bench and lose all of our big presence when we have to get into the bench. And put him next to David Lee, who's gonna get a bunch of rebounds and probably score a bunch of points. I think he becomes valuable, especially because David Lee doesn't play a ton of defense.
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't know if this is just like my green bias, but I kind of feel like that kid hasn't been fully tapped yet. Like we could see more out of him than he's been doing in Toronto, not because he's lazy or anything like that. I just think like we could utilize him in a new sort of different way that kind of gets the most out of him. Typical green team thing to say, but I have more faith in Brad Stevens than what's his name, Dwayne Casey.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a good opportunity for him to kind of, I don't want to say like play like a mini DeAndre Jordan role, because I feel like that's maybe too much of a step in that direction, but I can see him being athletic, playing above the rim, blocking shots because he's a pretty good defender, and catching lobs and stuff from Marcus or Rozier or whatever, and generating a bit of offense that way. Pretty good rebounder. And then, like you said, I'm much happier with his signing now that we know that David Lee is coming, because they're kind of like two different sides of the same coin. Like I expect David Lee's offensive proficiency to be the same level of defensive proficiency I see out of Amir Johnson. So I kind of like that two together. Doesn't break the bank. Yeah, I'm pretty okay with that, especially when the we don't have to talk about Jerebko because whatever, $5 million on the same deal as pretty much as Amir with the 1-and-1. The 1-and-1 is great too, because if we need to push reset next year, we push reset, which is fantastic to have. But and then also David Lee is coming off the books, I believe, after this season. So you either sign him again or you move on. Another great move. So I've been happy with this stuff so far. I mean, we didn't go after Tobias Harris. We didn't, really even get a meeting with Greg Monroe. But those guys don't really move the needle for me that much. But you have a difference of opinion?
I would have loved Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been big on him.
Mm-hmm.
But just before we move on from this, I think, I hadn't looked into this again. Like I said, I've been looking for it, but I think you kind of strike something with Amir and maybe not getting his potential, because his per 36 puts him at a 12-and-9 guy, and his per 100 possessions puts him at a 17-and-12 guy, or 17-and-13 guy. So you're looking at a guy that, if utilized right, looks like he could be actually a difference maker. Someone that can actually get in there and be, whether he's honestly your starting center, or he's 6'9", I thought he was a little bigger than that. So whether he's your starting power forward when we inevitably ship Sally out, we saw Brad Stevens' propensity to kind of go for that small ball kind of hustle lineup. So if you put him and David Lee next to each other as your front court, and you sort of have a little faster paced rebounding based, you gotta get a little different dynamic, a little smaller, but they, much more like bulky on the glass. Like much more just muscle on the glass. So maybe he's going to be the ultimate Brad Stevens guy, where you bring him in, he's got some interesting stats if you play him and utilize him correctly. Maybe he's going to be the ultimate a la Evan Turner, I guess, is kind of your big example for that now. A guy that Brad's just going to learn how to play very well, and that's going to be and that's why I'm most excited about David Lee too. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're getting an all-star. He's an all-star. He's a great basketball player who didn't play last year, not because he sucked or because just because he didn't fit with what Steve Kerr wanted to do, and that it is what it is. Also didn't sulk and bitch on the bench like a lot of guys would have when he happened to him. I mean, this guy comes with tread on the tires that were kind of rebuilt a little bit last year by not playing. You saw him in the playoffs when he got his chance. He definitely still has the talent. So I'm super interested to see David Lee. It's one of the first legitimate tools that Brad Stevens is going to have. I mean, like I said, he's an all-star. He's really the first one outside of Rondo, which he really didn't get a good peek at. Really the first legitimate all-star we're going to get to see Brad Stevens work with and work into an offense, and that's where his talent has been in the first couple of years. It's really getting the most out of players and putting them in positions to truly succeed. So I don't have much more to say about it other than that. I'm fascinated to see how specifically Brad Stevens and David Lee work together, and if Brad can get a good return out of Amir Johnson and turn him into a 10 and 10 guy, a pretty consistent 10 and 10 guy.
Yeah, I agree with you on all that stuff. We've been pretty skilled lately, and Brad has been pretty skilled lately at reclamation projects, like you mentioned. One person that's kind of sticking out in my mind is Jordan Crawford.
Of course.
Yeah, he built Jordan Crawford into a real serviceable guy in the league again, and then we moved him, which was perfect. So not that we're gonna move either of those guys just yet, but I really like what you said about per possession with Amir Johnson. I think that's what you're kind of hoping that he can be in the right system and used correctly. And from what I've heard from Toronto people around Reddit or whatever, they said outside of Kyle Lowry, that's the most important player on that mm-hmm. team. So, and I know this gets beat to death, but an awesome guy in the locker room, really good glue guy, awesome attitude, works really hard. So you need that. We already know all that about David Lee. Like you just said, he didn't, pout at the end of the bench when Draymond Green emerged and kind of forced Steve Kerr's hand. And I know he just took all of the Warriors for a championship event out in Vegas, and it was all on him, which is pretty sweet. And I'm also kind of, now that we're talking about it a little bit, I'm also kind of hoping that David Lee gets here, likes what's going on here, and starts to tell people around the league about the secret sauce that's going on, and then maybe we can slowly start convincing some of these guys to head over this way. I'm thinking about, just because I know their relationship is pretty tight, I'm thinking about Harrison Barnes, mm-hmm. Because he'll come off the books. I think maybe restricted free agent next summer, and if D-Lee is. And I know D-Lee and him are tight. So if D-Lee said to him Warriors can't pay you, come over here with me. We have an awesome situation, and this could be really good for your career. So if that kind of happen, I'm not saying that D-Lee has everybody's ear in the league, but hoping that might happen.
So I'm gonna transition us here nicely because I think I have a nice little segue.
Do it.
I think that I might be over. So let me try to phrase this. I think we're seeing kind of a little bit of a transition in the younger NBA team and the younger NBA player now and going into free agency. I think a couple years ago, all the trend was to go to somewhere like Miami or somewhere like California where it's nice, beautiful weather, you get to chill on the beach and all this stuff. And now kind of starting with LaMarcus Aldridge, and you hear the rumors about how he went to LA kind of expecting to see a basketball presentation and got a lifestyle presentation. And, it just kind of goes into the trend with a lot of these kids. We talked about this is kind of a flaw of a lot of the younger basketball players, that they're growing up playing AAU, and it's basketball all the time, and they're all friends. But kind of a positive to that is that they're also been grown up with technology and these stats and like learning how to read charts and things like that just because they've had all that and reading things like that. So two things with that. One, you saw that when LaMarcus went to San Antonio for his visits, I mean, Tim Duncan obviously did the, quote, recruiting, but mostly everything you heard was how much time he spent with Popovich and how much he talked to Popovich and how much this, that, and the other thing. So what I'm getting to is if Brad can actually build this reputation of he is like this career rejuvenator, or he's like this career booster, like look at all these people that he turns around, look at how he puts you in a position to succeed. The thing I kept hearing with LaMarcus Aldridge to Pop is that he loved how much Pop has extended Duncan's career and how he knows how to limit minutes and like that's how he plays it. And it's like this big goal, like you can play an extra 10 years you play with Pop because he knows how to manage your minutes. So if, I'm not saying that that's going to be the exact style that Brad Stevens has where he's a minute manager, but if he can be like Brad Stevens is going to be the guy that turns your career around because he's got that knows how to make you play the best basketball that you can play. That, not Isaiah Thomas, David Lee and Harrison Barnes sounds like a good story, but it's not David Lee. It's not anyone. It's the fact that they're going to come talk to Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is going to show these people exactly how we're going to use you in this system and how I think you're going to be effective. And that's going to that's your selling tool. And this just goes back to another reason why you signed him up for however many years you signed Brad Stevens up for. You don't sign him up for 6 years to be a coach. You sign him up to be kind of the new face and the new, he's the guy you need to bring in there. I mean, top down, this is what Brad Stevens does. He brings in talent. Doesn't need to be the most talented. I would love to see him work with the most talented, but it doesn't need to be the most talented. He just gets teams to play for him, and he gets the most out of every player that he has on his roster and gets them to play hard for him. So that is like the pie-in-the-sky goal would be maybe we never get obviously you think of like Kevin Durant, or you think of like the really big – maybe we never get something like that. Maybe we do get like a Harrison Barnes, or maybe we do get, someone like that when they come off. So maybe another tier up from a Harrison Barnes when they come on into free agency because you're going to go to this team where this coach is just going to make you better and it's just going to be a better situation for you overall.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Are you selling season tickets? Because I would buy them right now. No. I think you're exactly right. That is what we want, and I think that's what front office wants. I think that's what Danny wants, and I think it's not out of the realm. I mean, he's already starting to show it, like you just mentioned, and I like what you said about the younger generation starting to come into the league. They're starting to understand that, okay, big markets don't really matter because I can always fly to LA, shoot a commercial. I can always fly to New York and shoot a commercial or get a shoe endorsement or whatever. That stuff doesn't matter as much anymore. Case in point, Greg Monroe says, I'm good with LA and New York, and goes to Milwaukee because he thinks he can win there. He thinks he's a better fit over there than it would be.
To kind of hop in on that, I heard something the other day, or maybe a week or two ago. LeBron's never done any sponsored tweets. I heard something that like if he were to do a sponsored tweet for like a Pepsi or something like that, it would be worth upwards of $2 million. So one tweet, one press of the send button that you don't even have to type is worth $2 million. So
yeah,
like there's no point that you need to be in New York or like you just said, there's no point that you need to be in these major markets to get to cash in on being, this media face. Like you can get it other ways now pretty easily without a ton of effort. So yeah. Please continue. I didn't want to say. I just didn't want to forget that point. It's just like that's the shift. That's a big shift.
Yeah, and it's encouraging. I mean, I think that Brad definitely has the ability to be like a guy. I don't even like, as much as I like to look on the positive side and be optimistic and hope for the best with this team, I almost don't even want to say he's like baby Popovich because they're two totally different guys. But I think they demeanor and everything and all that stuff. But I think they could have potentially, if Brad gets to this point, like a similar mystique around the two of them. That like Pop just gets it. He's the best in the league, and he has been for years. And he just gets results. And I think Brad, who is a slave to basketball, a slave to the tape, just works day and night to figure out how to run the best schemes and put his guys in the best position for their own careers and the team success. I think that's going to start getting noticed within like the next really, really, really noticed within the next 2 to 3 years. And, you know, I don't think we're going to, like you said too, I don't think we're going to land a Kevin Durant. I don't think we're going to land one of these top present in the moment stars of that caliber. But the next group coming up, it's not out of the realm to think that they could have the foresight to understand what's going on in our city and want to take a gamble, or not even a gamble. It's kind of a safe bet, to come and play for Brad, even at this juncture. He hasn't had one misstep yet, really, for the most part, which is incredible. So I could barely get through listening to you talk about that without jumping in and screaming that I agree, and I want that to happen real bad. But I'm with you. I hope that can be a thing. I think Marcus Smart is a real good poster boy for that effort. Not that he's a reclamation project, but I think him and Brad as a team are good sort of 1-2 punch to roll out for the Celtics brand, which is why I wasn't too hot on maybe shipping him out on a trade. But you know, nobody's untouchable on the team. But that's neither here nor there. But one day soon, hopefully, we'll at least get these friggin' meetings. We're not even getting meetings right now. But outside of LaMarcus, I don't want the meetings with this group this year. Nobody was really jumping out at me as somebody who I would give up, the war chest of assets for. So, LaMarcus is a good player. And there was a brief second when we allowed ourselves to consider him because he was in Logan Airport for whatever reason. I don't even know. Yeah. So I don't know, but I think the future is brighter than some negative media outlets around Boston, give credit to. So, do you want to talk about some of the other stuff around the association?
Yeah, I got about 10 minutes. Let's do it.
Okay. Since we're talking about Pop and Aldridge, how about the Spurs just, legitimately running the jewels on the rest of the league, like taking everybody's lunch money and just coming back strong. So we're looking at Tony Parker, Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, and Tim Duncan, and Manu comes off the bench, and
David West.
We just signed David West for 2 serial box office tops and a slinky. And who else is on that squad now too? Like they just traded Splitter, but they'll be fine. They just brought in they just picked the Kings pocket and took Ray McCollum, who was like a really good one of the only good young players in the Sacramento system, and they just stole him for a second rounder. So the Spurs are on fire this offseason. They might be my winner of the offseason. I can't think of anybody else, maybe save for the Cavs, who had a good offseason too, just retaining all their guys. But do you have any problem with the David West thing? Him going, just leaving $11 million on the table pretty much?
Nah, I mean, he wants a ring. That's what we want people to do all the time, and they never do it, and then we get mad at them when they don't do it. So he's kind of doing what everyone wants everyone to do all the time, and it's just I'm curious if how much money he's made in his career. I know it's a decent amount, because I remember at one point it wasn't even thought to be done and said and done that he was going to be a Celtic. I think it was 2009 before he went to the Pacers.
Yeah.
I want to say it was after they won the championship. I want to say that it was after they won the championship that it was pretty well thought that he was going to come and be a Celtic. And I think he made decent money with the Pacers. So I don't think you know, you love to say it. You never know what someone's financials are because it's unfair to say just because you make that much money, you don't know what he does with charity, you don't know who he's supporting. But at a certain point, 11 million to 1 million, 1 million to 11 million doesn't really make a ton of difference to you. It's all about the championship. You really want the pride in your career, and you did something you're proud of. So no, I hope they win. To be honest, I mean, I hope the Celtics win, obviously, but it's not realistic. So, I mean, they do things. What is wrong with what they did? They did things the right way. You know, they didn't. They're still doing it the right way.
Yeah.
You know, you quietly sign Kawhi to I think a max. I think it's you kind of keep that on the radar. You don't make a big deal about anything.
That's
you
how
just do it.
We don't even. We're not even positive.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's just like they just do it. They just go about their business. They just kind of handle their stuff. And they're the model franchise in the way Patriots fans wish the Patriots were the model franchise because they win. They do things the right way 100% of the time. They have the best coach possibly in history. They have one of the best players possibly in history. You know, the parallels are there, but just time and time again, the Spurs just do things the right way, the best way, and they just get it done so quietly without like any fanfare. It's just they're amazing. They're amazing to watch. They're just there's not much else you can say about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's nuts. I think I don't have a problem.
Like that little shot to get Patriots fans there.
Yeah,
I got plenty if you want them.
I've decided I can only expend brain cells on the NBA and combat sports, and that's it. I can't do the NFL stuff. Get caught up with that as much. Like, don't ask me about Deflategate and Tom Brady. I don't give a fuck. But so you can take shots. It's totally cool. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the Dave West thing. I think that's exactly what we want. We want to see guys, well, I don't know if that's fair to say because if this was like a year or so ago and he said, forget it, I'm going to go to Miami and play with LeBron, I'd probably have a problem with it. So I don't know if I'm being hypocritical by saying I'm okay with Spurs. Yeah. But like you said, Spurs do everything right. They've built a healthy culture, a positive environment, a place where, if you're a player and you're an employee of a team, like that's a good place to be an employee. So they should be rewarded as such. It makes total sense for them to score somebody like David West. And David West is just, he's at the tail end of his career. He thinks he's made enough money. He thinks he can sustain everything he needs to off of the salary he's going to be paid, and more power to you. He should be there, and that's terrific. I think the team is going to be interesting. It's probably going to get off to a slow start, trying to figure out how to assimilate all these pieces with LaMarcus and West and whatnot, and figure out how that's going to play out. I'm talking more about LaMarcus than anything, but they'll figure it out, and they'll be probably unstoppable come March. So that'll be an interesting thing. How about this? Just real quick, Bruce Bowen. Did you hear this story today?
Yeah.
He sanctioned them to take number 12 out of the rafters so that LaMarcus could wear 12. What do you? I feel like that's not a good move. It's not a good look for LaMarcus. I bet he didn't ask for that, but you kind of look like an asshole because you allow that to happen.
The one thing is, Bruce Bowen is one of the biggest assholes to ever play in the NBA. So, you know what? Finally, the asshole makes him look like a decent person. I mean, Bruce Bowen, just the dirtiest motherfucker that maybe ever played that position.
True.
Stepping on people's shoes while they shoot, just doing the dirtiest little shit that you could possibly do. He's the old dude at the pickup game that just does dumb shit that you just like, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
So, I guess good on him for not being a piece of shit for once in his life. I don't know. Fuck you, Bruce Bowen. How does that sound? Yeah.
Shots fired at Bruce Bowen. I didn't know it struck I didn't know he struck a chord with Bruce Bowen. Yeah, I was just kind of surprised that he let that go on. I feel like once you're in the rafters, you're in the rafters. I'm not taking it down for anybody, but maybe I'm just selfish. What else? Okay, let's just.
The last thing I have time for is the one event that made the internet just worth having the internet, and that was the 12 hours last night.
Yeah. What a nightmare. What a mess. So let's clue everybody in. What we're talking about is the DeAndre Jordan Festivus of hell that was going on last night. Basically, I'll summarize it pretty quick. About 5-6 days ago, he verbally agrees, which is the only thing you do during the NBA moratorium that lasted until yesterday at midnight. He verbally agrees to the Dallas Mavericks to be their new player. Comes to be about 2-3 days ago, he's got cold feet, and he's worried that he made the wrong decision leaving the Clippers. Again, only in a verbal contract of sorts. So the Clippers get word. They're talking to DeAndre again. They fly in. They basically have a meeting with DeAndre, a long meeting all day yesterday, kind of making sure that he feels wanted and welcome to the team and try to woo him back to LA. They end up basically having a sleepover of sorts until 12:01 a.m. last night, when he could actually technically sign a contract with the team. And meanwhile, Mark Cuban is basically driving around Houston, where DeAndre lives, knocking on doors and calling everybody on his phone to find out.
No, don't even do this. No, stop
it.
Do not get on
50-50
right now. I will hang up this fucking thing right now.
Okay, you don't think it's true? I have no idea. It's probably bullshit.
It's definitely bullshit.
Yeah, I can't imagine a world.
Anyways.
I can't imagine a world where Cuban is about to sign like the max highest paid player to his team potentially, and he doesn't have the guy's address. That doesn't make sense. So I think, Broussard's probably full of shit, but I love the image of him driving around.
Oh, it's fantastic. You figure like Cube just rolling around, just pulling up to random people on the street and asking if they know where DeAndre Jordan lives.
Hey, did DeAndre live up this hill?
You don't know him? I've seen him before.
Yeah. Does he go to that strip club? I don't know. Who knows? But
He's even got a beard.
So it basically froze him out, and now he's a Clipper again. What a circus.
So I have conflicted feelings. I have very little problem with what he did in principle. I mean, it's shitty, obviously, to say, you say yes to someone and, shake their hand and do the hardest commitment you can do at that time, and then kind of backpedal and pull away from it. That I don't have as big of a problem with. That's life. I mean, like someone put, I think I saw someone on Twitter earlier. I mean, he's a 26-year-old deciding where he's going to spend and work for the next 3 or 4 years of his life. I mean, 26 to 30s. I mean, NBA athlete, non-NBA athlete. It's a pretty big part of your life, 20s, that age that's what I'm getting into right now. It's what you're getting into right now. It's a big part of your life, whether you make $80 million over the next 4 years or not. I mean, it's still a big part of your life. An important part of your development as a human being. So I have no problem with him having second thoughts about maybe not wanting to live in Dallas, maybe not wanting to leave what he'd kind of built LA. What I have just the biggest problem with is the fact that he just iced over the Dallas Mavericks organization for 2 days, from what everyone's saying. He just didn't call them, just wasn't responsive. Just be a man. Just call Mark Cuban and say, hey, man, I'm having, you're going to be disappointed. Obviously, he's going to be mad regardless. But, hey, man, I'm having second thoughts. I don't think I'm quite ready to leave. Blah, blah, blah. Just be a man about it. Just call him. That's where it gets Bush League to me. Yeah. That's just some shit you don't do. In any profession. Let's go beyond the money and the profession he's in. In any profession, you don't fucking do that. You just don't do that. And I think similar to any other profession, I think he's going to have to be a Clipper for the rest of his life now, because I don't think anyone's going to trust him enough to deal with him. If I did that in my industry, the word would get around pretty quickly that I ice this company over completely. If I went to another job, they'd ask for references, and I'm sure someone along the way would be like, oh yeah, I offered him a job. He'd never call me back. He accepted it, and then I couldn't hear from him and never heard from him again. Yeah. That's just cheap. That's really shitty. I don't know if you saw, I think this is a pretty recent quote, but Chandler Parsons just ripping into him.
Ooh, no.
Saying, I mean, he gave the whole like he gave me his word as a man, blah. That part's not as important. But saying like he only randomly responded to him, wouldn't call Mark Cuban back, shut the door in their face, and like not. I don't think he literally shut the door in their face, but metaphorically shut the door in their face and wouldn't talk to them. Said that he didn't want to go to Detroit, Dallas because he's afraid to be a franchise player. Was the word out of Chandler Parsons' mouth.
Yeah. Wow.
So
yeah, which is kind of fair criticism.
Totally fair criticism.
Yeah, because that guy's not a franchise player. He's not. He's an awesome piece. He's an awesome third piece. But I think who knows about the psychology of what was going through DeAndre's brain, but he should have never even considered leaving LA because he's in the perfect situation. He's got arguably the best point guard in the league, who is the best at putting passes on a dime to you right where you want them, no matter what. Every time you're up and down the court, you got the other guy who's your best friend, and when he's on, is in the same tier as LeBron James and Kevin Durant in Blake Griffin, and you can just reap the rewards of put-back dunks and awesome rebounds and block shots, and everybody loves you. Why would you want to go carry a franchise like the Mavericks? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm not saying anything you don't know, but he should have never even considered. Now, his move of reneging on his verbal agreement, in some way, like, I can understand it because, like you said, he's a young guy. He's got to do what's best for him. Also, the moratorium period is kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't we just signing guys like on the dot? Why are we doing a moratorium in the association? It kind of doesn't make much sense. But it's tough to just basically decimate another team's offseason and not even call them back about it. That's kind of like cowardly, obviously, because they brought in Wes Matthews and DeAndre Jordan, and they thought they were pretty much set. They're going to do a few other things, but I mean, there's plenty of reports out there now that they would have tried to get in on the Roy Hibbert action. They would have tried to sign Kostas Koufos, who say they wouldn't have tried to make an offer for David Lee. So they just
maybe not Chandler walk,
Right. They just let Tyson Chandler go because of it. So they're screwed, and that's all because of DeAndre Jordan. That sucks. That really sucks for Mavericks fans and everything like that. If that was me, I would be livid at that guy. But what are you going to do? It's good for the C's because we have their 2016 first-round pick next year. So the worse the Mavericks are, the better for us. But, what a friggin'
So there's this other story. I thought I saw someone about it, but I didn't really read much. I mean, it actually kind of backs up my own point. Like, there's another story about how the big theory is that like DeAndre Jordan's agent was the one that was really pushing him to the Mavs, and maybe DeAndre never really wanted to go there to begin with. That still doesn't fucking excuse you from not calling the person back. Like, that's just such bullshit.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to say. That's just such bullshit. That's such amateur hour shit.
Danny Fagan is his agent, and apparently he's of like Relativity or something, which I'm not sure what the connection is, but there's a strong connection to Cuban, and supposedly Fagan has kind of served up different guys around the league to the Mavs in the past. So there was some worry that they couldn't even involve Fagan because he was too entrenched in the Mavericks camp, regardless of the fact that it's just ethical business to uphold your verbal agreement. But just a weird. I would have paid good money to be like in the same room as Mark Cuban when he was finding all this out. But yeah, I hate this sort of shit too because it just paints the league as being like amateur hour and like the asshole people who are like, oh, that league is just a bunch of punks who they don't know what they're doing and they're not real upstanding sports figures. That bothers me, and I think this kind of adds to that narrative and the ammunition that people have against the NBA. But what are you gonna do? Just
It was a weird day. It was an awesome day. I mean,
awesome day, weird day, and we didn't even talk about the emojis.
I don't have a lot to say about those.
I almost threw up watching like grown men emoji tweet each other. Emoji subtweet each other too. Not even like at Chris Paul this, at Chandler Parsons that. They were all just subtweeting like planes, trains, and automobiles. I know it's like kind of funny, but it's like so dumb and childish. It like makes me kind of want to puke. And the funniest part was when Kobe got in on it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Oh no, I'm sorry. The funniest part was when Paul got in on it.
Screenshot of another one's emoji. Yeah, that was pretty good.
It was like an old, basically clip art JPEG from like 2002, and I don't know if he was consciously aware. First of all, I don't think Paul is strictly involved with his Twitter, like you mentioned. I think there's other people who are social media managers, and bravo to whoever had the foresight to think like Paul's old. He doesn't know how this game works, so let's go do a screen grab of a clip art piece and tweet that out, which is just the best.
Too funny.
But, yeah, wild free agency so far this year, which I thought was just gonna be par for the course, but pretty damn entertaining. So,
all right, I gotta run. So they don't think I abandoned my dog.
Okay.
Not a good look around the society. They think I just left my dog. So I'm going to go probably grab him and hopefully not be banished the abusive dog owner.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So we're going to leave it at that. We'll be back soon, hopefully. If the needle moves in any direction, we'll be here to talk about it. So for Andrew Barry, my name is Pat Julian. This has been Farm.
Not what I meant. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
There it is. Okay. This is Hoop and Harm of Run the Julz. Take care, people.
Later.